Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents. With me, your host, Valerie, and sometime kitty co-hosts, Ms. Purrington and Mookie. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. They're not... Ms. Purrington's upstairs. Mookie's usually right there.
There's no cats anywhere.
There's no cats, no. I mean, they are here. They're not here. We might get an appearance. Okay, be quiet. ComedyWham.com is your nice place to go for features about all Austin comedy. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, all of my Austin Chronicle articles on the Austin comedy scene, and our festivals page listing, which lists upcoming festivals across the country and the world. We're best known for our events page for live comedy shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW, where 100% of the entries you see come from comics and producers and club runners.
Uh-oh.
That's actually you. If you want your show featured on the calendar, click the Submit a Show button from the top of the homepage or events page to complete the short survey. It's free and easy. Tag us on your Instagram stories and we'll share your show promo to our Instagram followers. Want to support these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Click the Support CW icon on our homepage to see the ways that you can help us. Now back to our podcast. Launched in 2016. Can you believe it? 2016. The podcast project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and we usually take a detour along the way. That was not me. Excuse me. Oh, God, it's out of control. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. Today, despite my better wishes, today I am talking to a finalist in the Cap City Comedy Club's FPIA, co-host of the Lanalax Corporation with Aaron Brooks. He's a darling. His co-host of the I Learn Nothing podcast with Ben... I can't ever pronounce
Showlock.
Okay, there you go. He currently manages the Velveeta Room after, he manages the Velveeta Room. He was in the movie The Trolls, not the one with Ron Funches, a different one.
No.
And You're the Puppet is the most recent little short movie project. And he is a returning guest of the podcast, launched in 2016. He was our 10th episode, and he's been back since. And now, Comedy Wham presents our guest, Pat Dean.
If you had told me there was a studio audience, then that would have made me less nervous. Guys, come on. You gave me this sound machine for some reason.
And I regret that immensely.
Yeah, most people regret most things involving me, unfortunately. Okay, so I think the thing you're best known for is your merch. Your swag that you've got going. I am so impressed by all of this. You gave me a notebook that says Comedy Wham, which, if I'm understanding correctly, is your website. Yes. Yeah. And then there's a magnet. There's stickers. There's pens. Yeah. You have yourself some sort of coffee holder. Yeah. I mean, this is crazy what's happening here.
Yeah. There's a T-shirt somewhere around here, too.
There's T-shirts?
Yeah. Well, there's one T-shirt.
Okay, let's say.
There's a jacket. I made myself a jacket along with one for Richard, who actually does the programming of the website.
Whoa!
And then Laura, who's since moved to Beaumont. She's not in Austin anymore.
No, she's not. Yeah. Did you hold on? So it's like a members only jacket, but it says Comedy Wham.
Yeah,
that fucking rules. Am I allowed to say "fuck" in your house?
Yeah. Yes.
Last time I saw
my mom can't hear.
Okay,
and
good.
My son's probably doing homework.
Good. Yeah, good. We don't want to curse in front of them. They've never heard.
No. He goes to a Catholic school, and they're very strict.
Interesting.
He doesn't.
Oh, I was going to say.
Can you imagine?
I think that would roll. I think, I'll say this. I don't go to I was raised Catholic, and I don't go to church, but whenever I find out someone's in Catholic school, I'm always like, all right. I don't know. Something about that makes me be like, cool, it's still going on. I don't know why. I have no idea why. It's like, I don't know. It's just rooting for the home team.
I guess.
The heaven bound.
I always find, I guess I have a weird feeling about society, and I think what I experience and live is normal and standard, which is not to go to church and not to think much really about religion.
Yeah.
And then when I'm like, oh yeah, they go to Catholic school, I'm like, really? Have you met the parents? That doesn't make any sense.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Yeah, I think there's like, I can't speak for for other religions, and thank God, because
well,
it's bad enough when I speak for the Catholic Church. Well, I get letters from the Catholic Church, and
cease and desist. I imagine,
saying like, hey, stop telling people you're Catholic. But I am, so I don't know where they get off.
Yeah.
And then it's obviously the Pope's not actually sending this, but they have a stamp with his signature on it, and so they stamp it. So I've gotten several cease and desist letters from the Catholic Church themselves, but so I don't know what it's like to be another religion, but like when you're Catholic, I just feel like you're always Catholic.
Yeah.
Like you want your kids to be Catholic, even if you don't go to church.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. See, and I'm the flip, because I grew up. I spent 7 years. I was born and slightly raised in Belgium, and Catholic. We were Catholic. But when we moved here, my mom thought, and we moved to Texas, my mom thought, oh, there's no Catholic churches. It's only Baptist churches. Because we were like in northern Texas, and that's all there was, is Baptist churches everywhere you turn.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for North Texas.
Yeah, so we stopped going to church completely because she was like, there's only Baptists. I'm Catholic.
I guess what are you supposed to do if there's no church for you to worship at? I guess what are you supposed to do?
I don't know.
Go outside and what, pray to the trees?
I don't know.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous. That's so funny, though. Just the idea of going anywhere where there's just no Catholic church, let alone, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, are you proposing that we go there and we build one?
No, I have since found out that there was actually one. So I think it was more a matter of
your mom's
there wasn't
a liar.
one near. Well, I don't think she was a liar. She was just maybe lazy. She didn't want to drive that far into town.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. The stuff that I think, honestly, the stuff that made me stop going to church is that it was early and it's Sunday. I don't want to do this. Like ever since I was a kid, I've always hated waking up early, and going to church was always the worst. I just hated it. I hated going to church. I didn't understand. Now I'm like so interested in religion, but then like I just wasn't at all. So it's like I just didn't care about any of it. And like now when I do go to church, which is normally for like Christmas or whatever, like there's all this stuff where I'm like, oh man, this is kind of interesting, but I had no concept of what any of this was when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drinking blood.
Ugh.
That's insane.
And eating a body.
Yeah. You're eating a body and not, and this is where we differ with our, I call them the Christian rebels, the Protestants. They, in their mind, and this is kind of strange, it's a symbol. However, in our mind, the Catholic's mind, it's magically turned into the actual flesh and the actual blood of Jesus Christ. It's not a metaphor. It's a thing that they do, which I gotta say, pretty fun to witness. I love magic, and this is actual magic. It's not even it's not even close-up magic where they're trying to trick you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're just trying to feed your soul.
I guess. I don't. Can we stop talking about religion now?
Oh no.
You said you're more interested in religion. Is that because of your podcast? Where you're taught lots of...
Yeah, I'm taught philosophy on a podcast called I Learn Nothing. And I started learning more about it because of it. And I think also when you're raised Catholic, you just assume that like everything's been the same forever, and it just hasn't. And so when you do research on like early Christianity, it is baffling. It is wild, dude. Yeah. There's some interesting stuff out there. Yeah. It turns out there's a whole world out there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Well, I didn't either. I mean, like, I came out to wherever in this undisclosed location that we're at. I mean, I saw a few McDonald's I've never been to. I mean, there's some it's wild out there.
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West, except for McDonald's.
Your podcast started pre-pandemic. And it's, how many years later? 6, 7 years later?
Yeah, about 7 years, yeah.
And you still learned nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah. Well, my teacher is this guy. I mean, Ben Sholok. I mean, you didn't even know how to say his name. Like, he's not a very effective teacher, I guess, because you'd think.
You guys need to hire a PR team if you still haven't learned anything.
Well, I mean, I need to hire a PR team for so many things. Everything I've ever done, I've just been like, oh, I'll just do this project and like move on. And then like years later, you're like, huh? So like none of that hit.
oh, that's kind of, that's this.
Yeah. Well, hey. Well, look, you got a coffee mug. You've got.
This was a gift that I got from somebody.
Well, you've got.
I did buy that. I did buy those things.
I told you earlier that yesterday someone gave me a magnet at work that just says "fuck." Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put it up on my refrigerator immediately. Not even fuck you, just fuck. All right.
Are you still in that whole comics complex where all of the comics live?
Yeah, so there was a place called Sandstone where a lot, of old school, I guess at this point, old school Austin comics live.
Yeah.
And it was because this guy named Joe was the the property manager there, and so he just got all of these comics who have like shit credit and no money into this apartment complex just by doing no due diligence on his part. And he, the thing that was so funny with him is he got all of these comics to live there. And so I would just like bump into these people all the time, and it kind of ruled.
Yeah.
But what was so funny with him is that like he was renting out his apartment to me and Jay Whitecotton, who's still my roommate. And we, because he was like living with his girlfriend or something, and then they broke up. So like he didn't have a place to go because like he was renting his apartment, so he just lived in his office. And it was so funny because this dude, like if you went there to his office during the day, you would have no idea. It just looks like an office. And then at night, there's like he had like a mattress and like a hot plate, and there's a shower in there because it used to be a like apartment. So it's like it was just the funniest thing in the world to me. Yeah, it was very dumb. But yeah, there was like so many people who lived there. Yeah, so no, I know we no longer live there, which is good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, because the thing that ruled about it was that it was cheap.
Yeah.
And then like once Joe stopped working there, it kind of stopped being as cheap. And then we were like, no one has renovated this apartment for like 15 years. There's just nothing but comics from like one to the other. So like it would just look like shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never particularly impressed with those apartments.
No, they're awful.
Yeah.
They're not good apartments.
Yeah.
Like they're fine, but they're just like, they're just sort of there.
Yeah.
If you need a roof. And we did.
Yeah.
And we had one. Well, I guess we didn't really have a roof. We had someone else's floor right above us because we were on the first floor.
Yeah.
Huh. Now I'm thinking I need to sue them for not even providing us a fucking roof. Just a floor? That's so demeaning. Just hear someone's feet all goddamn day? This is, you know what? I'm glad I came here. This is starting to make me...
Welcome. I expect a cut, though. You know that.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Right. I understand.
But I'm not going to contribute to your legal fees at all.
Of course. I would. Yeah, of course.
All right. So you're back at the Velveeta Room.
Yes.
How long have you been back now?
Since July, I think. July. So what is that, like...
we're getting close to a year.
Yeah, about 7 months, 6 months, 7 months, yeah.
Yeah. How has that been to, like, get back?
Man, awesome, yeah. Whole lot of fun. The thing with like Austin is that in the last few years, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but there's been a lot of people who moved here and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, there's been a few people.
Just a couple.
A couple people, yeah. Rumors say that Joe Rogan is actually going to open a comedy club.
No way.
Yeah.
Like, surely not on 6th Street because that would interfere with the Velve too much.
Oh, yes, it would. Yes. Yes, it would. Yeah, that's the funny thing about working there. So the also thing that's so fucking funny is that on 6th Street, there's like 19 comedy clubs now. So it is so funny for me to just stand in front of it and like look down the street and be like, oh, wow, I can see the most famous comedy club in the world from the comedy club that I work at. And it's like, oh, no. But those aren't the same club. No. And then I fall down the manhole. Yeah, I go, oh.
As part of the Esther's Follies show.
Yes,
it's a total pratfall.
Yeah, there's a man in despair, and then he disappears. And everyone goes, yay. Yeah, it's, so 6th Street has, so it has a Mothership, which is Rogan's Club. Sunset Strip has ourselves. On 5th Street, there's that, the Black Rabbit, which I don't know if you've been to yet.
I have not been yet.
It's fucking awesome. Very cool place.
I'm hearing good things. Yeah.
And then Creek and Cave is on 7th Street right around the corner. So yeah, there's so many spots. Yeah. And then there's like bar shows and stuff like that. Yeah. It's gotten to the point where it's like they do this in New York with the Comedy Cellar, where like it's a place that sells out every single night. It almost doesn't matter who's there. And the Mothership is the same way, where it's like, I mean, their open mic sells out. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
what people do, what we do, is we just send people over to be like, hey, like, standby line, like, you're not going to get in, so like if you want to come, there's a comedy place down the street. And so like people have been doing that in New York at the Comedy Cellar forever. There's clubs that, like, that's their whole business model, is literally just the people who can't get into that club. And so it's kind of interesting because like, and because you're not taking away any like business from anyone, because it's like they've already sold out. They literally can't make any more money. And so it's kind of interesting. And so like, a few years ago you never would have even thought of that. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, we have to send people out to get people to come in. Barkers, they're called. That never would have been a thing a few years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's kind of a bonus.
It's interesting. Yeah, it brings a lot more energy. Like, there's so much more energy there these days than there have been in the past, I think, just because of that, from bringing in just a lot of outside people and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of been very interesting meeting some of the new people, or new to me, I should say. So, because you're like, you need a few months to be like, okay, like, oh, that person's interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, this person is completely full of shit. Okay, cool. Okay, this person is really funny and has no idea how to market. Okay, cool. This person is actually funny and can market. Fuck yes, I'll book them. Like, it's interesting to see, like, to kind of figure out who is what archetype almost.
Yeah, yeah.
My archetype? I'm glad you asked.
Yes. Well,
handsome.
Pat, stop. What's your archetype?
Handsome.
Handsome.
Good looking. It's the thing that's...
I have noticed an uptick in the number of handsome performers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And so it's luckily for me, you can be good looking and do comedy. For a long time, it was like... Well, it is funny. Like, when you look at the 80s comedy, like, they're all just ugly as fuck. Like, it really was just...
Sure.
Man, is it funny.
Okay, so... You're doing that with the mothership, but you're not trying to pull that off with the other clubs.
Oh, going up? No, just no. But I know that a few of them do that too. They'll send people. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. No, I don't go to the. But maybe I should. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to the Black Rabbit, owned by friends of mine. Yeah, and then just stand in front of it and go, hey guys, go somewhere else. And then they'll be like, what? And then I'll probably not be allowed there anymore.
Well, you can just say, there's a new club just down the street.
Yeah, it just opened up about 35 years ago. Oh, you live here? You've never heard of it? Wow, haven't heard that for years.
What now that you're back, and I can ask you, like, how do you approach booking your weekends? And what I have noticed is, like, much more... Not that it's a bad thing, but one-off shows, like more experiment, as opposed to just kind of a... I mean, you still have your traditional 8 o'clock headliner on Friday night. Your Saturday nights, you've got 2 shows for your headliner. Yeah. Usually that Friday late night spot is either an experimental or like a monthly show that comes through.
A lot of times it's just... sometimes there's the shows that I produce there, but most of the time it's kind of outside... I guess producers coming in to do it.
Yeah. And then you've even tinkered around with your Thursday night formula, which was always just the open mic.
Yeah. The thing that's so funny is that, like, just working there, managing there before the pandemic was just like, I took over from this dude named Mario DiGiorgio.
We shall not disparage. Do not say his name in that snide way.
What snide way?
I don't know, the way you were about to. You were going to trash talk him.
I will. And he can't stop me because he's not here. If he was here, I would be very polite to his face. No, so he was running it, and the way that it was always that. Yeah, it was always like the headliner shows are on the early shows, and then there's the late show, and then there's a speed mic, 2 comics host, 2 comics, headliner, whatever. So that's just kind of how we always did it. And then coming back and just seeing what everyone else is doing, it's like, oh, I don't really have to necessarily do that. So for the headliner shows, I'm starting to do just headliner shows at the 8 o'clock shows, and then doing more, I guess, themed shows or showcase or whatever you want to call them on the late shows, because we just sell more tickets that way, which is kind of interesting. So the way that I'm kind of starting to realize, like, oh yeah, you can just open up, do more things, do different things. The speed mic on Thursday was always just a speed mic. Now we do like a pre-show, and that's the way that I kind of, to actually answer your question, is to look at it more of a business than I used to, because when I managed it before, we would just sell out all the time because it was us, and there was Cap City, and there was a few other but they mostly did improv and stuff like that, theaters. So nowadays it's like I kind of have to go, oh, okay, what's the business part of this? So the business part of it for Thursday is well, how do we keep the people at Esther's Follies who get in for free there? How do we keep them there and drinking and watching the show? Well, we'll just start a show. Rather than start the mic earlier, we'll just do a pre-show starting at 8 o'clock. So when they come in, there's already a show, as opposed to them waiting around for a half hour or whatever. So that's kind of the thing behind that. And then that also, you go, okay, cool. Then that also just gives me way more spots to give out to people, which is good, to keep people happy. And also just to get working comics in, which is cool. So it's kind of looking at more as a business thing. So kind of looking at it and going okay, what's a concept that would sell? You know what I mean? As opposed to just here's 5 comics telling jokes. It's that oddly enough, you'd think that would be kind of the norm. People just being funny, but no, it's not. Yeah. So you kind of, there's theme shows have always been kind of a thing in Austin for a long time. And now there's just even more of them. So I have a bunch of just the dumbest concepts you've ever heard coming up soon. My thing is is this dumb as fuck? Then we have to do it. I'm under obligation to do very dumb things because I think that, there's so much more shows in Austin, but they're not dumb. We get dumb as fuck, dude.
That's your brand.
Oh, do you have
dumb as fuck?
The objectively worst idea for a stand-up show ever? Let's fucking try it. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? Sure. Oh, it's a bunch of comics and they stand on their head while they tell the joke. All right, fine, whatever. $15 tickets. Fuck yeah, let's do this. Whatever. I love the idea of just being able to do different things and kind of, like I said, dumb things. And when I say dumb, what I mean is the thing that I've always thought. I remember Conan O'Brien was saying in an interview, he was saying oh yeah, my favorite type of comedy is really stupid comedy done by people who aren't stupid. So stuff like that where there's a wink to it a little bit. I've always really liked that.
Yeah.
So so when I say dumb, that's what I mean. It's something where you're well, why would anyone do this? I don't know. We should probably go watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the favorite topic of my conversation post-COVID is a Casey Rocket.
Oh,
he
yeah,
does absolutely dumb things on stage. But I think he's really smart.
You can also tell. When people are. Yeah, he's a very good example of that. I think. I don't know him personally super well, but I've seen him perform a bunch, and you can tell that he's that there's intelligence just beneath the surface. Yeah. But surface level, just dumb as a box of rocks.
Absolutely. But great.
I throw rocks sometimes when I see him.
Do you?
Yeah. And I go, you're dumb as this, and I throw them.
And how does he respond?
Catches him in his mouth every single fucking time. It does not matter how hard I throw it. And I can throw rocks very hard.
I bet you can.
Yeah. So I've had to stop doing it. So I've been banned from pretty much every room now because of that. The whole you throw rocks 6 or 7 times at 6 or 7 different venues, and all of a sudden, it's fucking ridiculous.
And you're back on stage too.
Yes, telling jokes, having fun.
How is comedy? I got to watch you. Who were you? You were. It was the Netflix. Is a joke.
Oh yeah. We had auditions for Netflix, and in a very, very, very well thought out move. We were not allowed to say, hey, this is for Netflix. So we had to very heavily imply it, and then on the day of, just straight up say, hey, this is for Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was kind of their block red lettering for their promos.
I mean, it's so, it was so obvious that it was for Netflix, yeah. That was fun. Yeah, we got to audition for Netflix, yes.
Yeah, so that was, I think, the first time that I'd seen you perform, possibly since that FPIA fight? Surely not.
Maybe since the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely since the pandemic. So do you approach your
plandemic, as you call it.
Plandemic? What? Yeah, right.
Constantly.
I didn't plan it.
Well, I mean.
Do you approach your comedy differently before the pandemic than now?
Oh yeah.
Are you still the goofball who's just,
Yeah, goofballing it up and having fun.
Sure.
I remember I was talking to somebody who was like, I don't know how new they are in comedy, but they were like, oh wow, that set went really well tonight. I was just having a lot of fun. Then they were like, and they said out loud, oh wait, maybe that's like what you're supposed to do. And I was like, oh wow, you think? Yeah, like my thing is to just try to enjoy it and just try to have fun.
Yeah.
Because like if I'm not, I'm just not going to do it. There's people I know who are fucking miserable doing it. You can tell they're miserable doing it. It's like you can just stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of what's cool about life, is that you can kind of just stop doing things.
Yeah. But if your whole identity is wrapped up in it, sometimes it's like, well, then
Oh, sure.
It's a whole existential crisis if you are like, oh, well, I'm going to stop doing this then. Well, who the hell am I?
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. Well, the thing that I always have thought about that is that, so my favorite radio show ever is called The Ron and Fez Show. And Ron Bennington is like my favorite like radio guy ever. I grew up listening to like a lot of like talk radio and stuff where I grew up. And so he was a comic for a long time and then started doing radio, and for a long time just stopped doing comedy. But he was still himself. He was still the funniest person in the room. You couldn't tell me that guy's not a comic.
Yeah.
So I feel like you almost like, even though it's going to sound kind of strange, you almost don't have to always do it to still feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm funny,
Sure.
but now would be a good time to play the little applause on the soundboard.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's not the applause button, Pat. Yes, exactly.
I can't believe I've never owned one of these. That actually surprises me.
They're very cheap.
This one looks like it's either a knife or it's some kind of old gun.
Oh, there you go. We do not condone gun violence here at Comedy Wham Presents.
So that was a gun.
Yeah.
I've never heard a gunshot
like one
before.
Of those not gasket. Those old muzzle rifles, or I don't know what they are. Holworth Provisions. You can get one of those for like $15, $10 on Amazon.
Who has $15?
Some people do.
Yeah, I mean, you live kind of far away, so I have to like. What I do is I bring my a harmonica everywhere because I'm constantly running out of gas, so I have to play for gas money. So what I do now is I go door to door playing harmonica and asking for gas money.
Yeah.
So I will be doing that for the next 5 hours.
Okay, well, good luck.
I'm going to need it. Super Bowl Sunday. People are going to be pissed.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I told you I have to go pick up my groceries. I have no idea if I'm going to get anything in my grocery order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm sure the shelves are cleaned out for Super Bowl.
What did you order?
Well, I ordered wings.
Well, that's not. Well, luckily, that's not in demand on. Super
No, I know,
Bowl Sunday.
right? So I told my son, well, hopefully we'll have wings.
I honestly don't know who's playing.
The Chiefs and the 49ers.
Okay, I thought it was the 49ers.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs.
Huh.
Yeah. And this is coming out in early March, so we already know who won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so obvious. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm going to make it a prediction.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it was a blowout. And I'm going to say that the Chiefs win.
The Chiefs. Okay.
Chiefs win.
Yeah. I know nothing about how they rate. I know I like Patrick. And just unironically or ironically, I don't know. I want them to win just because people are so worked up about the whole Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's just a girl supporting her guy. What's the big deal?
Yeah, I can't say that I have any sort of strong opinions on Taylor Swift or the NFL.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Taylor Swift the other day, though.
Okay.
Because I was like, it seems like people really will get mad at people. Like, I don't know. There's not that many artists that if you're like, oh, I like this person, people are like, ugh, fuck you. Yeah. Like Taylor Swift is one of those people, it seems. Do
you think that back in the 50s and 60s, people were like that about Elvis Presley?
Oh, I bet.
Because he was so big, and probably any move he made, there were some people that were like, fuck that guy.
Well, because he started off kind of playing like rockabilly kind of music a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe when he kind of moved on from that, then maybe it was like Dylan going electric or something where people got mad. There are people who are still mad at Bob Dylan for going electric.
Yeah, I'm just mad at Bob Dylan for being Bob Dylan.
Well, yeah, I saw that fool live one time. No idea what he was saying. And then he plays a song, and it's like he just plays these 17-minute songs, and then like halfway through, you're like, oh, this is just like a woman. I had no fucking idea.
I don't understand his music at all. I
Really?
don't get it. Yeah, I don't. I just don't. It's like, okay, he's talking through most of them, if you can understand them.
Yeah,
And
it is a little sometimes hard to understand. Yeah, I don't know, man. Some of his stuff, yeah, I can totally like. I mean, the problem with him is that he had like a 10 to 15 year output that was just fucking amazing, and then like ever since then, which has been the vast majority of his career, it's just putting out like these bizarre songs about the Titanic and shit like that. And, like no one cares. Like and they sound like shit, and it's like. So I get kind of being like, what's this guy's deal? I don't know. Maybe if you do you ever like read the lyrics and stuff?
no, who has time for that?
Well, I do, but I guess I
yeah,
don't.
maybe if he was a poet, and then I would just read his poetry.
Yeah, maybe
His lyrics as poetry.
Maybe,
then
yeah. If you read his lyrics as poetry, then maybe. And then sometimes, when I don't know, it's hard to explain his appeal. Sometimes I think because there's some people if Dylan is one of those guys, he's like Zappa, where like if you don't get it, you're just not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Not don't get it like you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like it, you're gonna be like, well, nothing you say is going to convince me this is good.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But he plays guitar well, Frank Zappa.
Oh, yeah.
I think Bob Dylan's an underrated guitar player. What do you say to that?
I have no opinion, because now I'm pissed off that I have an earworm of like a Rolling Stone stuck in my head.
So I'm going to do my Bob Dylan impression.
Okay.
So this Bob Dylan impression has been an albatross for me for a very, very long time.
Okay.
And here's why. I think it's very, very good. Everyone else thinks it's very, very bad.
Okay.
And I got to be honest with you, I've never had something like this where I'm convinced it's good and everyone else is convinced it's bad.
Okay.
Usually if I put something out into the world and it's very bad, I'll be like, oh, this is very bad.
Okay.
But here we go. So this is Bob Dylan.
Okay.
Hey, it's me, Bob Dylan. And the all-white jury agreed.
Lay, lady, lay, lay across my bed. You sang like this.
For one record and one record only. And then he went back to this like a rolling stone. I'm Bob Dylan. What do you think?
That was atrocious.
What the fuck? This is so... I didn't come here to be insulted.
Well, you didn't?
No, that's... Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta trust your friends, Pat. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'll work on it. I'll come back.
Sounded like some characters from the Lanalax Corporation, though.
Oh, yeah.
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 Which all the names have escaped me at this moment.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
know there
Chet
was-
Lightning was
There we go.
Bob Dylan. Yeah, so Chet Lightning was a character that, talk like this. Yeah, it was the absolute worst, which made him the absolute best.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, such a great podcast.
Oh, you liked it?
I loved it.
Oh, interesting.
I watched some, during the pandemic, you guys did some of the online, had some people come and watch, and I loved it. And I think we recorded, I know Laura and I recorded episodes, and then my son and I also recorded one.
Yep.
And I should remember this better. I think you killed him. Which was, don't worry, it's okay. That was the point of the
We didn't literally murder.
You didn't
literally murder, no.
No. Plus, it was over Zoom, so it would have been very difficult.
It would have been hard, yeah.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't listen if it came back, would you?
I would.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And I talked to Aaron about it, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'd be like, I'd listen if it came back. I mean, for him, and I guess I should get your take on it. For him, he liked that, and you should listen to that episode that I had with him. Mm-hmm. It came out end of December.
Aaron Brooks.
Aaron Brooks.
And
great Aaron Brooks.
The title of the episode is Aaron Brooks, the Ball Breaker.
I don't think that's what I called it.
The Ball Breaker of comedy.
I don't think that's what I called it. I really don't. Can you imagine poor Aaron? He's so not a ball breaker.
Yeah, he's the nicest
He's
dude.
the nicest, softest guy.
Yep.
He's just, no, he really appreciated like how it got him to creatively think, and it helped him with his writing. And
It was improvised like storytelling essentially with fictional characters who would make periodic appearances.
yeah, it was very fun to, and you know, your guests. When you had guests, because a lot of times it is just you and Aaron.
Yeah, sometimes it was us just doing it to ourselves. But yeah, we would have guests on sometimes, and it's really funny to like think about it, to look back on some of those episodes and be like, oh wow, like a lot of these people have like accomplished a lot of stuff since. Just like Saturday Night Live and just movies, and it's like,
right.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But the thing that I liked about that is like whenever we did have people on who were like, now they're famous. Back then they were like famous if you knew about comedy or whatever. We always put it out as if it was just another episode. Like we never ever was like, oh, it's this person.
No fanfare. Yeah.
There's never any fanfare. It was very purposely dumb.
Yeah. And some people would try to outsmart what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, so it was basically you were giving almost like a would you rather thing where it's like, all right, this happens to you. What do you do? All right, and then based on that, you kind of tell a story kind of based on that. Yeah. And it always ended in death, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or fortunately for some of these people, because some of them deserved it. Yeah, because they would try to outsmart you, and then my favorite thing in the world. Well, no, one of my favorite things about that podcast is when someone did try to outsmart you, you would just go with it and act like you were outsmarted, and then just have them get run over by a bus at the end of it for no reason. So it's like, oh yeah, you accomplished the mission that you're on, and like you technically won, but then you get hit by like, or like a tree branch hits you and you die and you go to hell or something.
And I always liked when Aaron got mad at you.
He gets so unbelievably mad because I guess in a lot of these scenarios that I would give him, and especially over time, because we put one out every single day, so we recorded like 730 of them, and so we fucking so especially like once a character was sort of what do you call not developed, but kind of developed. Like there's some characters who developed into like Aaron's arch nemesis. So Aaron has like 3 or 4 people on on the Lanalax Corporation, characters that I invented specifically to annoy him because I knew like, oh, this guy Aaron's gonna fucking hate this guy, and I would bring him up. So Chet Lightning is a very annoying, purposely forgotten historical figure who shows up every once in a while. The Sugar King is his enemy. The man in the back seat is his enemy. I mean, there's all these different people. Dreamy Dan, when they show up, he's like, "Fuck, I hate this guy." Whereas with me, like the characters he came up with were just like kind of goofy and funny. Like I didn't really have any kind of enemies on that show, but he had several.
Yeah.
All of which I invented. Again, invented specifically to annoy him. Especially because there'd be some characters that he would invent on that show that I would just reinvent. So there's a character named Bill the Dill.
Yes.
And Bill the Dill's bit is that like, oh, he needs you to kill a murderer, basically. And then he's part of the Pickle Clan. They're like this like intelligence network. So I just invented a character named Timmy the Tooth, who was just a talking tooth, who did the exact same thing that Bill the Dill did. And he was just like, this is the same character. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's just creating things and then creating a version of that. So there was like several different generations of characters that are just specifically designed to make Aaron really, really mad.
Yeah.
Because they just show up. So like the premise of the show is like you're just kind of hanging out and this bizarre situation gets thrown into your lap. So how do you react? But with Aaron, a lot of times it's just Aaron like tells stories, whereas I just sort of plop him into them. So he'll just be hanging out, and then suddenly there's a knock on the door, and he opens the door, and there's, like the Greek god Zeus is there, and he's like, Aaron, I need your help. Like, that's how it starts. And you're like, all right, like, whatever. Whereas, like, Aaron would, like, sort of tease that out a little bit. I'm a bit more blunt, I guess.
Yeah.
And so there's people who, the thing that I kind of thought was funny about that show is that whenever the characters that pop up have very specific physical descriptions, even though we never actually say what they look like, we never say, like, what race anybody is, for instance, so you can just kind of imagine it yourself. But so they wear certain outfits or stuff like that. So there was a guy named the Wizard of Baltimore, and he wore a wizard's outfit that had a bunch of Baltimore Ravens on it. And so when you start describing, oh, he's wearing this purple robe, it's like he knows, oh, fuck, it's this guy. Well, the Wizard of Baltimore wasn't his enemy. But let's say it was. He'd be like, oh, I fucking hate this guy. God damn it. But like if you're listening, you might not know who that is. So you're like, what's happening?
Right.
There's no explanations for anything also. We just like, when we do it, we just like start.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no intro, no outro, nothing.
No,
Very
none.
plain and simple.
And like plain, simple, and sinister. I always feel like it was funny that it sometimes gets very sinister, creepy.
Yeah. Your merch game would be so big if you had continued the podcast, because you'd be able to develop merch for, Bill the Dill.
Yep.
Wizard of Baltimore. Well, maybe you'd have some licensing issues with that one.
We're so small time compared to. I mean, it'd be so funny if they did, but I mean, like, are you gonna sue us? You're gonna sue the Wizard of Baltimore? Yeah. Well, yeah. That is the thing. Is every like city that has a NFL team has a wizard. So there's a Wizard of Chicago, there's a Wizard of Miami, and they all have awful regional accents. That's another recurring thing, is that everybody I'm fascinated by regional accents. I've always has been. And I grew up in Northern Virginia, right next to Maryland, and so I've heard that stupid accent my whole fucking life. On the radio, you hear people talk like that.
Yeah.
We're going to go over there. And you're like, fuck. This is where I live? This is insane. How does this work? How do you talk like that and just not even... I don't understand some of these accents people have. I don't understand how they can keep talking and not be like, holy shit, I can't believe I sound like this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting to me. Because where I grew up, no one had... Like, I would hear that accent, but like the kids I grew up with, none of us have accents. We all just kind of talk, really cool.
Really cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a really cool accent. I call it the real cool accent.
Okay.
Of Northern Virginia. A very specific
suburb of Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And like a very specific part of the suburb, Burnhamwood Drive. It's the only place that has this accent.
McLean, right?
McLean, Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a friend who lived there for many years, and she finally moved out.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. It's like, I mean, it's cool. Like, so if you're there and like you have a family and stuff, then it fucking rules. But because it has like good school systems and shit like that. But it's like expensive and like it just kind of like there's not a lot of identity there, Where they have it in places like Austin or like other cities and stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. We're losing identity.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
In what regard?
I just think there's a lot of you get more and more not pop up. They're staying condos everywhere. Probably that sandstone is at some point it's going to turn into demolished
probably
condo. So the more you have of that, I just feel like you lose the Austin flavor.
Because you've been there for like a while.
2008, I moved.
Okay, I moved here in 2009. So yeah. I don't know. I mean that's definitely valid. That's definitely a thing. I think that the thing about Austin that I like is it still attracts the people that it did back then. I think you're always going to have people who move in and like they try to get rid of the thing that they kind of moved here for. Like when people like who lived on Red River, like they built those apartments and then were like sued to get like the cutoff times for like concerts down. And it's like, this is why you moved here? Like, I don't understand. It's so fucking weird. Yeah. So I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm living in a suburb, so
sure. I mean, I remember one time, this is before the pandemic, my parents were visiting and I was just driving around and showing them all of my favorite bars that are now apartment complexes. Yep, we used to do shows there. Yeah. I loved that bar. Oh yeah, there was a terrible open mic at this one that I loved, and it's all like it's kind of interesting. Yeah. It doesn't really bother me. Stuff like that doesn't bother me, I think, as much as it bothers other people. I'm just like in my own world all the time, I think, so that it's like it's easier for me to be like, I guess.
Yeah.
When people say that, yeah.
I mean, again, because I live out here, whatever is happening in town doesn't affect me as much, but if I were living in town and I'd see things changing all directly around me, I might be more bothered. But then it's also, this is progress, I guess.
Yeah. And it's also
change, and the one constant in life is change.
Yeah. And it's also like kind of out of our hands. So like I just sort of I try to like experience things and then just be like, okay, and then just kind of let it roll off. So
Yeah.
So like I'll see that, and sometimes it will bum me out a little bit, but then I'm like, yeah, but that's just what it is. And then you move on. You eat a hot dog, life's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as you have hot dogs.
I guess. Yeah. Vegan if you need to,
Yeah.
or vegetarian. I don't know if
So
they're-
the way that I approach booking the Velveeta Room. No, anyway. So yeah.
I know. Well, I want to thank you for bringing Aaron back. That was such a highlight.
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
have him
yeah.
back.
Yeah, that was such a great weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Yeah, I think it was the first time that he came back since he moved. Possibly, I could be wrong about that.
I want to say so because
Yeah.
I follow him and
Yeah. Yeah, that was so much fun to have him there. And then, well, the thing that really, really ruled is that, like, and this is why it's like, well, I don't really care that there's, like, so many new comics who live here now or are moving here or whatever. Like, it just doesn't really, whatever. Like, because, like, I feel like there were, like, 8 or 9 people who, like, helped out so much on getting, like, because we sold a bunch of tickets for it, and like 8 or 9 people were like on the internet like helping Aaron sell it out, which like would fucking ruled. That part of it was very awesome.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that, even among people who you barely even know, who are just like, oh yeah, like I should help this person because it seems like he's a beloved dude. So like why not? But like it was just very cool to see, because there were like 19 different. So like he did a set at the Buzz Mill. And then they mentioned, like, oh, yeah, like, he's going to be performing at the Velveeta Room this weekend. And then this woman was, like, talked to him afterward and was like, oh, yeah, like, I want to tell all my friends to come, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, can I get, like, a discount code? And he's like, definitely. So we gave her one. And then we used that code to kind of track it. And, like, 12 people came from that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So it's like,
Wow.
so there was that helped out. And then there was just people... him on the radio, helping out people just on Instagram, people who weren't even on the show who were posting about it. So
Yeah.
that was very, very cool.
Yeah. When you were booking the room in the before COVID times, did you have a certain philosophy? I know you talked about how now you're more business minded, but does your philosophy about booking comics, those headliner comics, differ now?
Well,
that you're
a
back?
little bit, because we used to have like there's some acts who used to play the Velveeta Room who now either because they get a better deal or because they're just like bigger, like bigger names, like they'll play other rooms.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still have like good headliners and stuff that come through, but there's not a lot of them will do shows at like Creek or will do shows at like Mothership and stuff like that. So there's more like competition to book, kind of in an odd way. It doesn't affect it like that badly or anything, but it differs in the sense that there's like, when I booked that before, like I can look at all those people and be like, oh, like over half of these people I can't afford anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you kind of have to, what's cool about that is that it means you can have a lot more local people who don't. There's not a lot of places to do like headlining weekends if you're local.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can do like a show every once in a while and stuff like that. It's just harder to do. And what's cool about the Velvet, that it's always been a place where like, oh, if you're like local and you're like really, really funny, even though if you don't have like credits or like whatever, like, yeah, you should do it. So, the way that it's a little bit different is trying to think about like, oh yeah, like who like makes sense to have here, who doesn't, and who you can afford, who you can't, stuff like that. And the other thing is that back in the day, like you didn't have to have like nowadays, like specifically in town, because there's just so much more comedy than there used to be. Like you need to work with people who are going to get the word out and market. And like there are some people who and like I absolutely get it. There are some people who are like, well, I'm the comic. I'm not. That's not my job. That's your job. And like, yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But like we do
help.
we do a door deal. So like, come on, like, so like you have to work with people and people. What's cool about there is that everyone does like everyone gets it. Like they kind of get like, oh, like you have to do so much more work now. Like where back in the day, you just kind of didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, when it was just you and Cap,
Yeah.
right? That was it.
The New Movement Theater. Yeah.
Fallout.
Fallout now, yeah. But back then, like it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so it's like, it's a thing where it's like, yeah, now there's just so much more that like people get that like, oh, right, we have to like do stuff.
Yeah.
And before, like I never had, like I said earlier, we never used barkers because we never really needed to, but also it was like, I don't know. It just wasn't a thing I ever thought about. And like now it's like, oh, it seems like that's just what everyone does. They have people who, in exchange for stage time, they go out and tell people like, hey, here's the show, blah, 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 stuff like that. And I know that it works because I'll give people these little, like, hey, buy a ticket at the door, get $5 off or something like that. And like at the end of the night, we'll have not like a huge stack, but enough to be like, oh, those are like 7 or 8 people who just we wouldn't have made any money off of, who just wouldn't have come out at all. And so, so you kind of do way more marketing, but it's way more, it worked. Like it's a lot of work, but it's worth it because it does work.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, I wouldn't have had to think about that at all.
How do you keep yourself educated about a pipeline outside? You know, how do you find those future Sam Tallents, future Amy Millers that used to do your room, you know, every year?
Yep.
How do you find that future pipeline that's outside of Austin?
So there's a lot of there's a lot of people who, and a lot of them live here. Like there's a lot of people who like skill wise should be headliners, but like because of like, you know, showbiz or however you want to put it, however you want to put whatever dumb business we're in, like it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. And sometimes it does. Sometimes there's people who are like really, really, really funny and they're very successful and they're on the road doing it. And like, but that's just not the option for everyone for a wide variety of reasons. So there's a lot of people like that. And so you kind of can go on like Instagram and find clips and stuff like that. Don't Tell is a really good resource for that. You can, because a lot of those comics, not all of them, but a lot of them are kind of at that level. People who you're like, oh wow, this person is like really, really funny, and I'm sure they headline wherever they live, the shows like that, but like they should be making a living on the road doing that, and they don't. And so you kind of look for people like that. And then you also look for people in the scene who, some of them have been doing it for forever. So they do have people who will come out and see them and stuff like that. So the resources that I use are like Instagram. A lot of people hit me up like, and will send clips and stuff like that. And so a lot of it is brought to me but also like a bit of it is me, or a lot of it, I guess I should say, is me going on Instagram or just going on YouTube and seeing stuff. Because you see the same names over and over again if they're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And after a while, you go like, oh, wow, I've seen this name like 12 times this week. I should probably, I wonder if they're good. And then you look it up and you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course they are. I'm an idiot. So yeah, it is very, very interesting because there's a lot more than there used to be of like, I don't want to say like, there's like hucksters, but borderline. People hit you up and it's like, oh yeah, man, like I'd love to do your room, blah 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 blah, and like and it's like no, I know you're, and then because you'll see a clip and it's like, oh, you've been doing this for a year, like no, dude, come on, like there's people who they present themselves as more accomplished than they are, and so you have to be a bit guarded with that, which is hilarious, because it's very easy to tell.
Yeah, you've been around the block, so you kind of know how to spot those
I don't
people.
know. Yeah, I mean, like, I just feel like.
But you get a little props for shooting their shot.
I guess. I mean, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah,
you could just say, you can come to our open mic, sign ups on open.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to do that. You do. Well, that's the other the thing that's so funny is that like with I assume with most creative things, but with stand-up in this case, like you do have to do that. You do have to reach out to people and be like, hey, what's up? I'm funny.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you the number of people who have sent me a clip. I don't know who this fucking person is. Then you watch it and you're like, oh, this person is fucking hilarious. So like, you do have to do that. You do have to reach out, which feels weird to do. And it's weird for a lot of people to do. There's some people who have never done it.
Yeah.
And so you do have to reach out, and you also have to you have to punch above your weight class a little bit sometimes. That's the only way you get better is if you're like, I mean, there's some, like, it's so fun to think about the shows and the stuff you get that you think about it even like 2 years later and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have fucking gotten that. Are you kidding me? Like, I can't, like, I'm glad it worked out if it worked out, but like, yeah I shouldn't have been doing that show then. That's crazy to let me do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, that is part of a thing. So yeah, you are right about that. But but it's just funny. It's like, I come on. You can't see through this immediately.
I know, but if they've got the list of, okay, this is my resolution, I'm gonna ask.
Yep.
Because if I don't ask, hey, who knows? There might be somebody dumber than you that's not as well researched,
hey, man,
or who says yes.
Well,
sure.
The deal is that, like, look, like, there's plenty of people who I'm like, okay, I might not like particularly think this person is like super funny, but like, you can't deny that they can do it. Like that they not that they can fill the time, but like they're good at the style that they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's plenty of people that I wouldn't have booked otherwise if that.
Name them.
Oh, Aaron Brooks. No. They're that I look at it and like they'll be like, oh, hey, can I headline the room or whatever? And I'll be like, yeah, you can. Like you obviously don't say it like that, but like you kind of do have that weird realization sometimes of like, oh yeah, you should have. Okay, yeah, you should do this. Oh yeah, okay, you should do this. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So that does happen. You should ask for stuff. It's the absolute worst thing that can happen is the person says no and tells you why. If I don't think somebody is there yet, or if it's some person I don't know, then I'm just not going to respond to you because if you respond and say no, then it turns into a whole oh, okay. Why? Well, why? How come? And it's even like I said to one person, like, well, look, like this is why I don't do it. Like I get that, like you want to work the room like that. I get that, and that's good. And you want to get, I guess you want to get better, for lack of a better term. I forget how I phrased it, but like you're also putting me in a position where I have to tell you what I don't like about you. Like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. Like, and then, because some people are professional, and some people, when you do give feedback, are like, okay, cool, thank you for telling me that, or like, okay, yeah, like, even if they don't agree with it, you can tell that they're like, well, I'll consider this.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who are just so like, wow, they're just gonna yell at you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what, and some of the worst comedians you've ever seen in my fucking life think that they should be bigger than they are. So it's like, you know, it's like, I get it, like, but if it's someone, the thing that I think is very interesting, and it was the thing that I was kind of worried about when I first started working there, is that I'd be like, oh man, what if someone I know is like, who I'm like, oh, this person like not even sucks. This person is they have a pretty, they're good, but they're not like a headline or whatever. Like, oh fuck, what if those people are like, hey, I should do it? And like, no one's ever done that, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
No one I've ever known personally that I'm like, has ever asked me for something that not that they shouldn't, but you know what I mean, that they're not ready for, or whatever uncondescending way I can find to put it. Like, that's never happened to me. I've never had anyone I know personally be like, oh, can I do this thing that I shouldn't do? Which I was worried about. But there are people who like think that, I don't know, like I just get these messages from people who are like, hey, like, what's up? I'd love to headline your room. Here's a clip. And you watch it. You're like, oh, you're insane. It's not even that like, oh, like, I think you're not funny. Like, oh, you're mentally unbalanced. Like, no. The thing about
That's rough.
the Velveeta Room is that, like, and this just kind of sparked something else in my head. This isn't related to what I just said. Is that, like, I don't really, right now in Austin, there are like 7, and any given night, there's probably, I don't know, 50 people downtown that I could call to do a set, like, who's not going to be fucking insane. Yeah. That, like, I can just go, like, oh, you're insane. Like, I'm just going to deal with this person who isn't going to cause any grief. You know what I mean? Like, because the thing that the thing that is very interesting now is that because there's so much more comedy going on, people are doing way more shows. So I never used to have to be like, all right, guys, like here's like the specific times that everyone's going up, or like, hey, who has like schedule considerations? Are you coming from somewhere else? Stuff like that. Well, now I have to do that, especially now that I tend to put a bit more guest comics on the shows now. I'm not bartending there. I'm just kind of floor managing. And so like, which is good because I can just look at my phone and see when people are showing up. Like, so there's a lot more of that now. Yeah. But what's good is that if someone is running late, if they're like, fuck, I'm running like 5 minutes late, I'll just do a set. I don't care. Like I'll just jump up and literally as soon as that person gets here, flash the light and I'll get off and they can go up. It's a lot there. It's a lot. There's no like not drama, but there's no like, I keep things very low stress. So honestly, if someone drops the spot last second, I don't care. Like it's fine. Like these things happen.
Yeah.
That just means I get to do 15 minutes. Whatever. So like you have to do a lot more coordinating and lineups are a lot more fluid than they used to, which is cool.
Interesting.
Which I kind of like. Like I kind of don't like the fact that I'm going into work and I'm like, well, like 3 of these people could just not show up. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen, but like that could. You know what I mean? Like that could. And sometimes people don't show up. I've never had anybody just not show up and like not be like, oh hey, like I'm sorry I can't make it because of this or that.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. It's just I kind of like the idea that I'm going into work and like I know that we're gonna put on 2 shows. One's at 8 o'clock and one's at 10 o'clock. And everything else, I have no fucking idea what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's all sorts of insane when you're putting on live shows, there's all sorts of insane things that could happen that you're like, you kind of have to go in there like, whatever happens, I'm just gonna react to it and fix it and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys toyed with adding a Tuesday night show.
So we did a Tuesday open mic, and the thing that was so interesting to me is that so we got like no crowd, which is fine. Like it's not that big of a deal because there's comics there, like whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of comics there, and it's very successful in that regard. But none of them drink. Oh. No one drinks. Dude, it is.
Isn't that weird?
It is so fucking weird. Like it's good. It's undoubtedly. Excuse me. It's undoubtedly a good thing.
Yeah.
But I've never. There's some places I don't think here. Maybe there's 1 or 2, but like in LA and in New York, and I understand why this is a thing. But they do a thing where it's like you have to, if you're going to perform, you have to buy something. And I get it because they have to. The place has to make money. Right, you know what I mean? Right. And so I get paid. The shows that we do on off nights. I'm opening it up a lot more these days. On those shows, I'll bartend it because at that point it's like, oh, this is like an off night show, so this is kind of y'all's to run. I'm just bartending basically, and so I get paid a very fair and very decent hourly rate. So like I'm not going to be like, hey guys, we have to spend more money because that to me reads as, oh, this dude wants us to tip him. And like I don't need, like I'm never gonna do a 1 item minimum. I'm just not gonna do that. Yeah. And so rather than be like, hey guys, like we have to get this bar up, otherwise like they're not gonna let us do it if they're losing money. I was just like, we did it one time, and I was like, this is not gonna.
Yeah,
it was fun. I mean, like it was like chaotic as fuck. I mean, the thing that I love about the the open mic normally is on Thursdays, but like. It's just always like it's just pure chaos sometimes, just madness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I'm not here to give advice or anything, but I'm also not a drinker.
Hell yeah.
Bag of chips. What can you not sell like little snack size foods?
Oh.
Have you ever thought about
idea.
That? Because you know all those comics are high and they're gonna have the munchies.
That's a good point. Huh, that's interesting.
And that's minimal cleanup if you do it that way. Because I know that that's a thing. You don't want to. Plus, you probably don't have the ability to introduce foods. Pure foods.
No,
food
yeah, we
service.
don't have like a kitchen there yet.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea,
You heard it here first, everyone.
folks. By the time this podcast comes out, we will have the crispest chips that you've ever had in
Hell
your fucking
yeah.
life at the Velveeta Room.
Hell yeah.
These chips will be so crispy that we'll actually have to discontinue them because they're going to crunch so loudly that we won't be able to hear anyone tell jokes.
man.
So by the time you hear this, Val is now banned from the Velveeta Room for
shit.
introducing the chip apocalypse of 2024.
Yeah.
What a world.
Oh, well. Muffins, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, well. That was a polite way of saying fuck no. All right. Well, on that note. We never played the card game. Let's play the card game.
Yeah, you promised a card
I know.
game.
It's 1 hour in. And all right. So I'm picking 2 cards. So this is Richard, our web guru.
Yes.
He bought me this card game. Where Should We Begin? By Esther Perel. Have you heard of her?
I have not.
She's she's a therapist and she's got a podcast and that's all I know.
Well, then she must be correct.
She must be correct. All right. So point to the card you want me to read to you.
You will read that one.
I will
please.
read this one. You will read this one to me.
Heard.
And we'll see what, you watch The Bear?
The Bear. Yeah, I saw the first season and fucking loved it. For some reason, I just haven't watched the second season. I don't know why.
You got to.
Yeah, I know it's amazing. I loved the first. As someone who worked in restaurants for forever, I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Second season is fascinating.
Okay, fuck yeah.
So, yeah.
So do I read first?
You read first.
An important object I've lost. ...
I think about this a lot. And I'm glad my mom can't hear anything.
Me too.
That's true.
I'm happy.
So I lost my dad 7 years ago. And when he retired from the company he worked for, he got a really fancy watch. And I've lost that watch. I used to wear it all the time. There's a picture that comes up in my Facebook memories that Laura took. And I see the watch there. And every time I see that memory, I get so sad that I lost that watch. Because it was like, a celebration of my dad's accomplishment working for a company for a really long time. I just don't know where it went.
Wow. Man, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Have you checked the the drawers?
I mean, I've checked just about everywhere, and I've moved a couple of times since, so I have occasion to kind of rifle through stuff. And
Well, if you want, I mean, I can stick around after we're done recording, and I'll just go through the whole. I mean, if you want.
I wouldn't want to impose.
Okay. Well,
Thank you for the.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome.
And every once in a while, I think about, well, I'll just buy one. But
Yeah.
it was a very expensive one.
And it seems more like the symbolism is what matters.
Yeah,
than
it's like, oh, this is a replacement.
Maybe you
it
can
just
get.
wouldn't have it.
Yeah, let's think. Maybe what you can do instead is, okay, get a regular watch. However, the watch face is your fucking dad's face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah.
Would that be weird? Walking around with my dad's face on my
Yeah.
dead
I mean,
dad's.
as I'm saying it, I'm realizing this is probably not the. I mean, who's going to be like, hey, what's the story behind that watch? Like, oh, it's my dead dad's face. Like, no one would say that to like just a normal watch. They wouldn't be like, hey, what's up with that watch?
Yeah.
They'd just be like, they just would see it and register and not say anything.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so strike that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you come up with any other brilliant ideas,
I'll let you know.
let me know. Oh, this should be fun. Okay, Pat. In my family, my role is ...
Oh, let me think. What is my role in the family? Probably cool uncle. Yeah, probably cool uncle. We have, I've got a goddamn niece and nephew, and they live with their mom and dad in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And my parents like have an apartment out there, so like they'll go out there to visit and stuff. And for a while, my brother was living there. He's moving here, which is kind of cool. But so like yeah, like we would I'd go out there to visit and stuff, and like we're pretty close family and stuff. So yeah, I would say like yeah, goofball uncle, because essentially I am the uncle that they verbally and physically abuse. a lot of jumping, a lot of wrestling, a lot of grabbing, a lot of beard pulling, a lot of nonsense, a lot of threats, a lot of implied violence, a lot of nonsense. And so they don't really do that to my brother. They do that not as much. But yeah, like I have been messing with those kids their entire lives. Yeah. And so like, yeah, it's just constant like insults every time I see them. Yeah. And like, so there's like I just popped, like a video popped up on my phone the other day of my niece singing, Uncle Pat is the worst. Uncle Pat is the worst. We love Uncle Kev. And it's like the funniest thing. Like it's just them like insulting me, but while also being like, but we love Uncle Kev. And I go, what? No! And it just act like it really annoys me. Yeah. So that's what it is. Yeah. Incredibly cool and I guess put upon Uncle. Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. How are these like under 10 niece and nephew?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. One of them will be 10 this year, and then the other one is like 6, I think.
Okay,
6
or
7.
That seems about right.
Yeah, they're very little. They're still kind of little. Yeah, it's like so funny. Yeah. And when they were like really little, it was like even funnier to just like say weird things to them because they would just be like, I guess, just constant insults and stuff like that.
Much like your friends.
Yeah, a lot of it is like that. Yeah, a lot of ball busting. I remember, so the first time I met my nephew, he was like a month old, and you get to hold the baby or whatever. And so I brought him up to like my mouth, and I went to his ear, and I said, "Fuck." It was the first thing I ever said to him.
It was not.
Yep.
For real.
Fuck.
Oh my God!
But he was too little to understand.
Yeah, but there had to have been other adults and or his parents nearby to hear this.
Maybe I whispered it.
Oh my Fuck! You are the worst.
I think I'm cool. I think I'm a cool guy.
I don't know. I would have been mad. Told my kid that, whispered in their ear.
Why? He wouldn't have known.
I don't know.
It's just really funny. So so this is the problem, is that I just think like sometimes I'm like, oh, this is really funny. And then people just are like, they don't get that you're kidding. They think all of this is real. They go, oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
I should probably stop telling them to throw them out the window and stuff like that.
Definitely don't do that.
Yeah. No, well, I won't actually.
Okay.
There's no, we live in they actually have a sign up in their home that says this is a defenestration free zone. And I respect signs.
Okay.
There will be no defenestration on my watch. That's one of my favorite words ever. It just means like you're thrown out a window.
Yeah.
The other day, I was talking about good words in like languages or whatever. In English, the best word is loquacious because it means you talk a lot, but like it's also like needlessly a big fancy word. I just think it's such a funny meaning for that word. In Spanish, saltamontes.
Okay, I don't know what that means.
So that's like, I guess, Mexican slang for like a grasshopper. I think it means like mountain jumper, literally, but it's like a grasshopper.
Okay.
And then in Arabic, mushtaqlak.
Okay.
Which means I miss you.
Huh.
So those are the 3 best words.
Okay.
In the 3 best languages. It goes English, Spanish, Arabic.
Nothing in French?
No. Jeez. I've never understood this thing people have with the French language. To me, it sounds like shit. I think it sucks.
Those are fighting words.
Well, what are they gonna do? Come here? I'll fight everyone. I'll fight every dude in France. I challenge every single man who lives in France to come to Austin and pick a fight with me. Not because I think that I'd win, because I probably wouldn't, but I know you won't, and you know you won't, because you're too much of a fucking coward. You always have been, you always will be. So France, I've got your number. And if you already live here, then it doesn't count. Then I'll be your friend. But if you're French, and you already live here in the great state of Texas, then you're cool, you're fine, welcome. However, if you are currently listening to this in France and you want to come fight, come fight, dude.
Velveeta Room.
Come to the
6th
Velveeta
Street.
Room, 521 East 6th Street, celebrating 35 years of live, uncensored stand-up comedy.
Are you doing anything to celebrate for the 35 year?
Oh, we did it. We did it at the end of last year.
Oh, okay.
We just had like a thing where we had some older.
Oh, that's right. I came out for that.
Yeah, you were there for that. Yeah. We had older comics that like kind of I was around with, and then newer people. Yeah, it was really fun.
Cool. Yeah, that was cool to see some old classics.
Yep, that ruled. I was fighting a bunch of Frenchmen that night. That was pretty cool.
Because they knew your stance on their language.
They know.
So
they know that it's... Because you know why they know? Because they know that it's shit. They know their language sucks. And they have to act like... We have to act like everything that they do is so great. I mean, the food is very, very good.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But the language, I mean, fucking... I've always think it sucks. Always thought it sucks. I like how I'm like being like, oh, that language is bad, and I can't speak the own language that I speak. It's the only one.
Yeah.
English.
C'est dommage.
See.
All right. Well, on that contentious note,
Yes.
anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
You can listen to our podcast. It's called I Learn Nothing. We talk about philosophy and shit. It's pretty interesting, I guess. We've had to, we had to slow down a little bit on it because my co-host is back in school, and then I'm working at the Valve again and doing sets. So it's going to be very, very like periodic on that. Yeah.
And you've got a Patreon.
We do have but I think we shut that down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I do have something kind of cool coming out.
Yeah.
It's called the Lanalax Corporation.
What?
It's coming back.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And I can say it here because this comes out in March. By the time it comes out, it's already been out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've recorded like 3 weeks worth.
Oh my God. That is awesome.
Yep.
That is the best news.
That's why I said you wouldn't listen to it if it came back so
Yeah.
dismissively earlier. But anyway, so you can listen to that, I guess.
Nice.
Or don't. I mean, you can really do whatever
it
you
doesn't
want.
matter. Yeah.
That's the thing, is that just because a podcast, and I keep telling people this, just because a podcast exists doesn't mean you have to listen to it.
Except ours.
Well, except for this one, of course, yeah. But pretty much, I guess 99.999% of podcasts you don't have to listen to. However, ours, I feel like it would benefit you if you did.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't listen, bad things will happen to you.
For sure. Guaranteed.
So,
Guaranteed.
Is that a threat? Yeah.
Okay. Same lack of intro, close, no marketing, cool artwork.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some. We're actually gonna try to push it a little bit. So there will be some actual ads for it. But before we just did it, it was all word of mouth. But yeah. So there'll be that. But that's the only thing that changes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I'm very pleased to hear that.
Yeah, still recording it at 1:30 in the morning because Aaron is like. So we recorded very, very late at night after a night of work or doing stand-up comedy, so you feel like you're going insane. And then we don't get really high because that's illegal, but we get really high and then
Not
record
in California.
This. Oh no, not in California where he is. So he's 2 hours earlier. So for him, it's not as insane.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like we'll end at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, this is nonsense.
I don't know how you can stay up that late.
Oh, I
can't
love
get
staying
to
up
your
late.
10
I've always
o'clock
loved
shows.
Oh yeah.
I really wanted to go to Eric's show so bad. And I took a nap. I even took a nap. And I texted him. I'm like, I physically can't.
That's amazing. Yeah, I do get tired late at night, but I love staying up late. I always have. I think it rules.
I mean, I think it's a training thing too.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, all right.
So listen to that podcast.
Hell yeah.
Or like I said, you don't have to,
But you should.
but you should.
Yeah, I endorse.
And you will.
And you, yeah.
Or me and Valerie will find you.
Yes, the mean part of me will find you. I'll fuck you up.
Do you have the mean part?
Ask my kid. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's a good point. Oh, you bet he has stories.
I'm sure he does. Oh yeah.
What a world. Thank you for the magnets.
Yeah.
This will be put on my home
Nice.
refrigerator as soon as I get there.
Nice. All right. Well, that's a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents Pat Dean. Pat, tell us where we can find you on social media and promote those projects.
I am on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. I'm not really on Twitter for the most part these days, but at DeanManP. That is my Instagram. Post stuff on there. Mostly it's like comic book panels that I think are cool when I'm really high. And I go, oh my God, everyone has to see this, but no one does. But anyway, the point is that follow me on there. And if you have the phrase that pays, you will win $10,000.
Nice. Does the Lanalax have a Instagram?
I don't actually know.
Self-aware?
It should, I guess. Huh. I don't know, actually. That's a good question.
Something to think about. Or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it is something to think about. Do you have an Instagram account for this? You'd think that would be one of the first things we'd think about, but God, we're so fucking dumb, me and Aaron. That's the problem, is that we're just... That's okay.
Well, when you have time.
Heard.
All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Pat got to be the comedic genius that you heard today, just as much as I have.
Did we learn anything? I feel like we've learned nothing whatsoever. I feel like everything is, they say the truth is multifaceted, and I disagree.
Is it just single-faceted?
Yep. There's one facet.
Unifaceted?
Yep, and that's my point of view.
Okay. Well, I disagree, but that's okay. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Pat Dean. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Pat.
Bye. Thank you very much for having me in your home.
You're welcome.